And by playing the music, I can remember it.
It's funny because it's been about 12 years since half of my company, the Dry Opera Company, lived upstairs while we were doing La Mama.
Yeah.
And this was before the fax machine was invented. And remember, both you and I got the first fax machines that came out, and used to fax each other these long, stupid things and stuff.
You still fax me long, stupid things.
No, I email you them. But and then you're one of the last people I know on this planet to get email. In other words, it took you years. You resisted for years.
Yeah.
And what I want to get at is this. Your music. I mean, because we've been connected for so long. We're always associated. My name is associated to yours, whether one wants it or not. And people always are amazed to find that you compose sitting at the piano and not a computer. Mm-hmm. In other words, you are very traditional in certain
ways. And in fact, we use a lot of computers in the studio. The question really is that I learned to write music with a pencil and paper, and I can do it very fast. I can do it faster probably. Let me tell you a story that's very appropriate to this one. Years ago, I lived in Chinatown in New York, and I had a bank account at the Chinese American Bank. Did I ever tell you this story?
No.
Well, I went in there one day to make a deposit or take mail, and the guy took his computer, did that, and then he took out his abacus and did it. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm checking my computer."
A great story.
I feel like I'm the guy with the abacus.
But why do people like, for instance, Einstein on the Beach is a very mathematical piece, and people get the impression that you were ahead of your time by 3 decades at that time. You didn't use a computer, but it sounded futuristic. In other words, your music always had that futuristic thing to it. Oh. I hate to call it minimalism. I think it's a ridiculous way to call it because
it was a music that was about structure, that was about process, where the content of the music was really in the structure of the music. So it was really following the people that the kind of non-narrative work that began in the theater and began in film, where people were trying to break the hold of the narrative on work.
Beckett has a lot to do with that.
Beckett had a lot to do with it, and my experiences with Beckett accelerated my encounter with non-narrative work. And in music there were people like John Cage, but it was not only just Beckett.
Nadine Boulanger?
No, not so much. She was a classicist, really. But I think that Beckett was one of the first ones who, and people who began